Good morning, everyone. David Atkins, Targeted Individual. Today, I got some good info. This is going to be motives for mind control. Excellent introduction to the subject of mind control, and this comes from the website Gang Stalking and Mind Control Cults. And this is Alan Barker. 23 motives that the secret government may have for conducting covert and illegal surveillance, electromagnetic torture, mind control torture, and Zetzerzun psychological operations against citizens. Note that these secret technology comprise military intelligence weapons covertly deployed against civilian populations that the program is society supported. Okay, so here we go. Number one, low intensity warfare against the domestic population. Number two, ideas to mine and steal. Number three, statistical profiling of a population. Number four, PSYOPs, BDA, bomb damage assessment. Number five, entertainment, voyeurism, and sadism and freak shows. And voyeurism is they can watch you from their house and have a whole group of people watching you get tortured. Number six, to suppress technology that they cannot control. Number seven, hired harassment squad for billionaires. Number eight, distributed electronic concentration camps, and me and Holly are in concentration camps. And I don't know about y'all, but we are. Tortured daily. Number nine, vigilante groups that can target people they don't like. Number 10, to control a person, like a world leader or assassin. Number 11, the quest for controlled assassins or Manchurian candidates is well known. Number 12, to infiltrate a group. Number 13, genocide. Number 14 is a medical scam for money. Number 15, to predict and preempt actions. Number 16, to train agents to perform any of these so-called training exercises. Number 17, to intimidate a population by making examples of people. Number 18, to perfect the technology and techniques and make it less detectable. Number 19, various unwitting spy scenarios. Number 20, to steal negotiating strategies or information. Number 21, to conceal scientific and philosophical insights into human existence. Number 22, to provide human guinea pigs for medical or psychological research. Number 23, to maintain the ongoing mind control conspiracy. Okay, this is part two of this. So it says, for the purpose of the essay, mind control refers to any method used non-consensually on a victim to covertly and deniability attempt to control or modify that behavior. This occurs in a setting where a person has a reasonable expectation not to be violated, such as in his or her home or in her private mentation. This is sort of a violation that differentiates a mind control victim from an ordinary social interaction, just as the lack of consent of sex turns into rape. Consider through street theater as an example. Street theater refers to a form of harassment where a group of torturers act out either little skits, either literally on the street or on the internet, in the media, etc., intended to harass and disturb an individual to otherwise modify the victim's behavior. So if a group of people act out street theater to a random person to disturb him or her, then while this might be a crime, I wouldn't necessarily call it mind control. It is when surveillance is combined with the skits to both track a person over time for harassment and to obtain personal information about a person to be used in harassment that I would say mind control operations being carried out. Of course, there are many sorts of mind control operations, but they all tend to have this feedback setup. Violate a person with extreme surveillance and use that surveillance information to target the influence. It is a classical sort of feedback setup that might be described in terms of the mathematical and engineering fields of control theory, at least in abstract sense. The surveillance devices can range from phone taps, audio and video bugs in a home, um, a car, internet monitoring, basic tracking devices, all the way up to advanced satellite surveillance methods, super sensitive electromagnetic sensor systems with computer analysis and devices implanted in people's bodies without their consent. The effector or control variables can range from harassing phone calls, street theaters, rumor spreading, power line dimming, internet messages, all the way up to harassment with microwave devices, acoustic weapons, and messages in the media such as TV and newspaper, projecting voices to a person that only he or she can hear, and direct brain stimulation and manipulation. Other mind control methods use techniques such as hypnosis and drugs to influence people, but all methods have the common thread in deniable attack against mind control of an individual. Purpose of this essay is not to specifically describe any methods of mind control. More specifics will be given greater in later essays. Even if you do not believe all this is currently happening, though it is, you should still be concerned. Our boys will be targeted with these sorts of weapons in future wars. But there are victims now. You don't even have to think the U.S. government is doing this, but it is. Our boys will be targeted with these sorts of weapons in future wars. For the purpose of this essay, I assume the reader has a general grasp of mind control. Okay, to spoil the rest of the essay, the reasons boil down to money and power. Technological equivalent of the atomic bomb. Many appear on the list of motivations for mind control abuse, but one primary why the technology developed is because of the weapon. The first is motivation and why billions of dollars have been covertly spent on the technology. Of course, once the technology and techniques are developed, they tend to proliferate. Other applications tend to be found, depending on level of corruption in society, and organized crime groups other than group government tend to obtain such weapons and techniques. But the primary reason such devices were developed and tested is that governments were in developing testing weapons. A recent Air Force Times article about microwave crowd control weapon being prepared for deployment describes such weapons as perhaps the biggest breakthrough in weapons technology since the atomic bomb, and the particular weapon they're describing is far from the covert cutting edge. Indeed, a government would be negligent if it didn't investigate such technology. But using technology on people without their consent, either in testing or in applications, is either an act of war or committed on foreign or individuals, act of treason. If committed on domestic citizens, always act of torture. Okay, let's go. So, some difference between an atomic bomb and mind control. Okay, at some level, it is stunning an essay is such necessary at all. People have always wanted to control men's minds, and not to mention women's minds, but people are historically have been also manipulated again and again by one group of people, followed by another, by one big lie, followed by another, often convinced that it cannot possibly be happening now. There is also a big moral lie where decent people cannot imagine that anyone could have the capacity to carry out such heinous atrocities and conspiracies over long periods of time. They have minor moral lapses like everyone. Ordinary people tell small lies, but they just cannot grasp the notion. There will always be people among us who yearn for nothing but to be tyrants over other people. Let's be clear on that point and never forget it. There will always wants to be someone who wants to be Stalin. Motives for mind control. Now we've come to the list of possible motives for mind control. It's important to remember, though, it's not responsibility of the tortured victim to second guess the reasons he was tortured was committed. In this sense, the reason for the torture is generally what the torturer had the opportunity to commit the torture or thought he or she could get away with it. Remember that any group of people, there's politics. There's also the case of people involved in conspiracy of mind controllers. So when considering such questions as why they don't just kill everyone who speaks out at all, or other such questions, which can be useful to consider, even if you cannot know the exact answer, it's important to keep this in mind. Mind control conspirators tend to come from the same culture and live in the same society with the victims. When they leave the underground bunker, literally or metaphorically, they go and live in the homes with families among us. The low-level mind controllers, like Auschwitz guards, probably do not know the whole mind control system either. Also, with advanced electronic sorts of harassment, the harasser could be half world away with a good connection, but presumably lives in a community among some decent people. Many interrelated motives are mentioned on the following list, but that none, and I'm going to get to the list right now. Low intensity warfare against the domestic population. This has long been the policy of the U.S. government, though it's not typically stated. COINTELPRO actions are covertly undertaken to harass and discredit people for who, whatever reasons, are in the way. Frank Donner, in his 1980 book Age of Surveillance, makes this point with example after example. In his phrase, covert surveillance harassment become an unspoken mode of governance in the U.S. So the newer technology simply fits right in as a more high-tech way to continue carrying out this mode of governance. A key concept which Donner points out, and which many Americans cannot quite seem to grasp, is that the government does not need to accuse you of a crime or charge you or try you if they can just punish you. A paranoid government does not need to suspect you're committing any crime, only that you might do so. These sort of programs usually tend to target potential leaders and whistleblowers, though anyone can be COINTELPRO'd. Ideas to mine is still. Number two, in some sense, it's just a form of old-fashioned spying updated with new technology that obliterates the notions of human rights. Consider what might be the first step on a slippery slope of rationalizations. Suppose that an Iraqi nuclear science or any brilliant foreign scientist, engineer was concern to the U.S. Suppose there's this new technology that can get inside the head of such scientists and watch him as he or she thinks and works. Not only that, it can be used to influence that scientist. Armed with such rationalization, the covert crew goes to work and sets up the invasive surveillance. Then, for years after, analysts can study the subject and extract any intelligence they can from him or her. Would such a program be successful if being contained only used on foreign scientists? I do not think so. It would be used on any people, all limited by cost, perceived risk of being caught. Domestic targets might even be more tempting because the risk of discovery could be better managed. You would not even have to be a brilliant scientist. Some bureaucrat only needs to think you are somehow of interest. If enough people are targeted, then almost all levels of scientists and engineers could be targeted. If they had a golden goose, they'd dissect it. Intellectual property theft from scientists and engineers is only the first list because of slippery slope example beyond. Other sorts of creative people who may be vulnerable are writers, any other types of artists, craftspeople, inventors, programmers. In economic espionage sense, any sort of innovative or high volume stock trader or business leader might become tempting and very lucrative target. And I'm going to go to three. Um, so they that's just one way they do it. They'll steal ideas from people. They can do that. Inventors and stuff steal their ideas. Number three, statistical profiling of a population. This is like non-consensual subjects in a focus group to understand what their likes, needs, and dislikes and trends are. It might be most effective with unwitting subjects who have not realized that they're under monitoring, but can still be used on subjects who know they're being monitored. It's like having the ability to take an instant poll of a captive population who may not be able to hide their innermost secrets are. Anyone who knows anything about modern U.S. elections know how influential and widely used polls are. This is one aspect of the power of being able to statistically profile a large population. Suppose, for example, an individual were put up surveillance and found to serve an exemplar statistical demographic group of 100,000 people. That is, the person's perspective, ideas, and reactions could both be used to predict and manipulate the entire social group on a large scale. The sort of analysis is already known to take place. It becomes that much more effective when a focus group under invasive monitoring. In a commercial sense, the power to manipulate a demographic group is the power to get them to purchase goods and provide a profit. Every sort of thing is marketed these days. Interrogation for secrets. This is another advanced technology application to old-fashioned spying. People can be brain interrogated for secrets they know. PSYOPs BDA. BDA is the military abbreviation for bomb damage assessment. In order to most effectively bomb a target, you need to know which bombs hit their target, how much damage was inflicted by the bombing. This feedback is used to improve the subsequent bombings and revisit targets that were missed. One of Noam Chomsky's main thesis has for years been the democratic governments use propaganda similarly to the way direct governments use violence. Okay, entertainment freak show. Sadism and voyeurism are power motivations for people. Mind control victims can provide a live torture cam of an individual 24 hours a day and may even allow the sadism to play it controls and inflict damage or influence in the show. It would be like an ongoing snuff film you could participate in. This may be a part of spreading the blood around by appealing to have some baser human instincts than having a person on the hook for having participated. Likely has been alleged for some satanic rituals where people take small part in a ritual crime that are so inexorably linked to the conspiracy. Six, to suppress technology they cannot control. Many people believe you can always be the best if you can harass or put down anyone better. This seems to be the modus operandi of the secret sector, where if they do not control the technology, then it is stolen. The original inventor is harassed and it can be developed in secret. Even if they are not themselves interested in new technology, the temptation to suppress any possible disruption to the status quo is always there. Seven, hired harassment squad for billionaires. It does not take long for some person involved in this technology and experience with these techniques to leave for the private sector. This opens the possibility for deniable mercenary harassment squads. Number eight, distributed concentration camps. Federal government has historically made plans for emergencies, which include a list of people locked up in internment camps. With this new technology perfected, the concentration camps can be distributed by turning each person's home into a mind into electronic prison. And that's really what we feel like we're in right now. Nine, vigilante groups to control crime, whatever they choose to claim they're targeting people for. And hold on, I went too far up. Like a vigilante group can select people they do not like for extrajudicial punishment. Like most groups, actually controlling crime is just an excuse to pick people up for victimization and rationalize it to the members of the group. 10. To control a person, like the world leader and assassin. This is probably the ultimate dream of a mind controller, to take control of a world leader, important person. But this ain't even happening to person to leaders and stuff like that only. This is happening to dissidents, people they see as useless eaters. Anybody become a target these days. This could even start from a young age with a person groomed from a position of power. We already know that. Number 11, the quest for controlled assassins or main candidates. Look at Aaron Alexis. Look at Maynard May. The search for Robert Card. The search for such techniques never stops, still ongoing. Similarly, sexual blackmail operations are ongoing reality. Mind control victims may be utilized in setting up such traps. If the technology is cheap enough, or if you have wide field multi-target device, you do not even need to target the leaders. You can covertly capture more of the inhabitants or flick a switch on a wide field device so they can march into town down a main street to a hero's welcome. Whoever knew there was a war against them. It is easier parody just as some sort of body snatcher scenario, but to military planners, it's a real thing. Okay, let's see. To infiltrate a group in order to control, influence, or install a puppet leader in a group the controllers do not know much about, really do not understand. It can be useful to monitor a member or leader to learn what control. Another victim would be a mind control use of information gained from the monitoring victim in order to better pose as a victim, say on the internet. 13. Genocide. This could be an implicit, explicit result from mind control operation. Okay, let's go. Medical scam for money. These days, medicine and pharmaceuticals represent big money, and the cover lie for mind control abuses its mental illness. Some mind control victims will be misdiagnosed as mentally ill, even forced treatment and medication. Unscrupulous group group of individuals could exploit this fact to make the money off the suffering of the mind control victims. 15. Predict and preempt actions. Besides wanting just to control behavior, a running trend want to predict behavior before it happens. But the sort of data that's needed to predict behavior in detail is the exact same invasive surveillance data used to control and harass individuals. Prediction is a component in more effective control. We are already seeing instances where people's rights are infringed on not because they have done anything, but because someone predicted they would do something based upon whatever methodology. Much of this prediction is just like snake oil and pseudoscience, but that does not change the fact that rights infringements very well. There's also a statistical and scientific methodology to prediction, which undoubtedly will improve with time. If you can accurately predict someone's actions, you can move to preempt those actions even before they are taken. Hyper game theory. Number 16, to train agents to perform any of these actions. As professional torture and scum either retire, move into other sectors, or quit in disgust, new agents must be hired in their places. Therefore, fresh victims must continue to be selected from the population so these sadistic pigs can practice their torture techniques. Number 17, to intimidate a population by making examples of people. If it were open secret that people can be selected for any reason for mind control torture, then the population in the open secret would be intimidated, if not terrified, for any of them could become the next victim. This new method for violence with a regime of thugs can control a population and use a long practiced terror tactic. Number 18, to perfect the technology and techniques and make it less detectable. This is the human guinea pig testing of the weapons technology, much like radiation tests on unwitting citizens. Weapons are built, human subjects are chosen from the population, and weapons are tested on non-consensual subjects. Some consensual subjects are no doubt also used, but that is not a human rights violation if it was truly informed. After these tests, the weapons labs analyze the terrorized or influenced manipulated responses of the subjects and refines the weapon system. As part of this testing also serves to help close all avenues of responses or redress which may be open to human subjects and which later domestic targets the weapons might have. Any response the victim tries to make is monitored, and if it might be successful, then a loophole in the system of denying justice is closed. For example, a lawyer may be used to attempt to see what legal strategies he or she might think of so they could be rendered ineffective. A technical person would be observed as he or she tried to understand, measure, and block the effects of the weapon system. This would be valuable feedback to the designers and might even provide them with ideas. Note that for this particular aspect of torture, it's important that the victim know he or she is being attacked. Of course, the victim has little choice but to try to resist or else become a slave, which still would not likely stop the harassment. He or she must constantly think about the testing because it's typically ongoing day and night. That's the vicious catch-22 that the victims must deal with as this part and why it is torture. And as I'm reading this, my whole body just now started to vibrate. Of course, 19. Perhaps the best spy is one who does not know he's a spy. He or she cannot reveal it under extreme torture because he or she does not know it. Such people can be infiltrated in any group, just selected out a particular group and wired up. Inmates in prison can be wired up before they're released so their monitors can peep into any criminal world activity they might enter into after being freed. Of course, it's important not to confuse the secret police with the regular police and law enforcement, though there is certainly an overlap. Number 20, to steal negotiating strategies. Number 21, to conceal scientific and philosophical insights into human existence. Number 22, human guinea pigs for medical research. Once people are undergoing an invasive surveillance, they become guinea pigs for any sort of medical or psychological human testing that needs continued monitoring. This is a lucrative business now. For example, if a person were knocked out one day by whatever method and had a patch of skin rubbed with some chemical under development or of concern, then experimenters could watch the person's own response to the potential poisoning. Psychological research has even larger potential for abuse, real field testing. So they could test out these poisons, they can test out weapons, frequencies. Well, let's see when we hit him with this frequency, what happens. Let's see if we can put him to sleep in 2 seconds. Let's see if we can put him to sleep in 1 minute. Let's see if we can do this. Let's see if we can do that. Like when I first got hit with direct energy weapons, they made me think that the road with cars in it, I would not get hit with direct energy weapons if I was walking in the road, but I would get burnt real bad walking down the sidewalk or the grass. So they caught me walking in the middle of the road because I was not getting hit there and I was getting hit hard on the sidewalk, stuff like that. They just do trial and error to see what works. And to maintain the mind control conspiracy, because atrocities be committed, atrocities continue to be committed to conceal them. The mind control technology and harassment networks keeps the secret system secret, punish whistleblowers, and of course increase profits at whatever cost to human dignity. Conclusion: given there's a long list of motives, hundreds of people claiming to be victims of this technology, the known technology, a history, and continued cover-ups of MK Ultra and other mind control victims in the population, it seems reasonable to conclude that non-consensual testing victims and harassment is still going on with the latest technology. So anyway, that is Alan Barker's essay on the motives for mind control. I have a good video coming out on different types of implants and stuff. It will be coming out this week. Very informative, especially for seasoned TIs, because in the 90s and stuff, and even in the 2000s, if they got a chance to put an eye in you, they would. So please stay tuned for that. And like I said, I'm vibrating now, and it started right in the middle of this. So I'm going to go deal with that, I guess, and try to suffer through that until it stops. And other than that, God bless every TI. If you have any suggestions on videos you want me to do or any subject or topic I want to talk about, please leave it in the comments. And please like my videos so more people can get the word out. Thank you. Have a good day. God bless.